Andy, we saw you at OTAs a lot in the spring. We were watching your videos. I think you had a couple viral videos going out, particularly one about Matthew Golden, someone we've talked a lot about on this show here. So what were your first impressions, being able to see him in person up close for Matthew Golden? And if you want to include Savon Williams as well, the two rookies, how are you feeling about those guys very early on in their careers here?
Yeah, so we'll start with Savon first because it's probably an easier conversation. Savon was in a red, jersey because he was in like a non-contact jersey, which is kind of funny and ironic because it's supposed to be a non-contact practice anyway. Mm-hmm. But he was a little bit limited in what he was doing. Didn't do really any teamwork or anything like that. So we didn't get a great feel for anything from a Savon Williams. Going through and watching his tape, and when once he was drafted and kind of doing a deep dive. Extremely excited about him. Might be a little bit of a project, but there's some really fun stuff, especially on his earlier tape. But from an OTA and minicamp standpoint, we didn't get a real taste or flavor of Savon Williams yet. So hopefully we get that early in training camp. As far as Matthew Golden goes, I'll start with OTAs. OTAs, he immediately came in and was with the ones right away. Now, a couple things you should know about that conversation. Number one is Green Bay does not just throw players with the ones. In fact, he was the only rookie that was working with the ones in any capacity. Every other rookie that they had was, so they basically split the sides of the field, the ones and basically everyone else. And all the other rookies were with everyone else. Matthew Golden was the only rookie with the ones. I will also say, the ones were like 7 wide receivers. So he was one of like 7 wide receivers that were working on the side of the ones. So place that where you will. I think those are the two kind of takeaways there. What I noticed in OTAs right away is that everything was as advertised. The speed, the ability to vary speed within the routes, the route running, everything that you wanted to see was right there. And, you could see immediately why they took him in the first round. First impressions don't mean a whole heck of a lot, but it's better when you get a good one. And I think his first impression was good. Now, he had a couple nice catches in OTAs. Again, stood out. Nothing spectacular, nothing flashy, nothing down the field, anything like that. Just good routes, solid catches, everything that you wanted to see. Minicamp, it was a little bit more nondescript, and there was definitely a couple of rookie moments. So, for example, there was one play in particular, and he is going to line up. He's lined up on the wrong side of the formation. So they get him reset on the other side of the formation. They tell him to go in motion. He goes in a short motion. He's supposed to go in a long motion. So they get him finally to go in the long motion. And then he runs his route and he runs the wrong route. At least that's what it certainly seemed like from the communication that was going on with him from our vantage point. Those are very common rookie moments for anyone. I remember Tucker Kraft, Edgerrin Cooper, amongst others, having those very similar wide-eye rookie moments in OTAs and minicamp. So some learning curve, some things that he's got to learn from and still kind of understand the playbook. Absolutely. Any flashy, sexy plays that are worth noting? Nope. But definitely looked the part and was as advertised coming out of the first round out of Texas.
Yeah, that's what we like to hear. The mistakes in OTAs, the running the wrong routes, like that's music to our ears. But jokes aside, yeah, thank you. Jokes aside, though, we've been talking about this a lot. Is there a point in the year where, if you were to make predictions, we like doing predictions on this show. If you were to make a prediction, do you think at any point in the season, and if so, when would he become the number one overall, like the wide receiver one for this team?
So Green Bay is weird in a lot of ways, but in the fact that, I don't even think, I know they don't look at it that way. And clearly when they had Devontae Adams, they looked at it that way. They had a clear number one receiver. I don't think they're going to view anyone as like the alpha within this room. Now, if somebody steps up and grabs it, great. Like that could certainly happen. But I think no matter what, you're going to see a pretty sound rotation between Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden. I'd expect those 4 to be the initial ones. And then once Christian Watson comes back, whenever that might be, I think he'll be in that conversation as well. I think you're going to see a ton of Jaden Reed in the slot. I think you're going to see a lot of Golden and Wicks and Doubs on the outside. And then just kind of they're going to play a lot of 11 personnel. So a lot of 3 of those 4 guys at all times. And I think they're going to spread it out. And even more so, if anyone's wondering from like a fantasy football standpoint, which do not take my advice in a fantasy football world, it's usually just do the opposite. But from a wide receiver standpoint, they're going to all spread the ball around. But you now have Josh Jacobs, who's getting a bunch of carries at running back. Marshawn Lloyd's coming back. He's going to get some touches. You have Tucker Kraft, who everyone has basically been saying they want him to be the number one option at Yeah, like within the almost not Josh Jacobs included, but like from a receiving standpoint, they want to feed Tucker Kraft. Luke Musgrave's expected to have a larger influence this year. So you just have so many mouths to feed. I don't know that there's even an avenue or a space for anyone to be like, oh my God, he had 90 catches for 1,800 yards and 12 touchdowns or anything like that. But if you said at some point this year, we're in go-to situations, in red zone, in goal line, whatever it might be, have to have it situations, that Matthew Golden became that guy, would not be stunned at any point in time if that ended up happening.